Hey guys, it's Ted Lincoln's Fishing Life out on the lake. Man, there's some pollen in the air. Spring is here. It's almost 80 degrees today. It was a high of like 50 a few days ago. Water temps are going up. Can't wait for the real pre-spawn. Has been kind of building. I think it's all going to be jammed in the next week or two. But that's another video. Today we're here to talk about the recap of the Bite of the Day videos from December. No, not December. I already did December. This is January. January, the 2021, the first bites of the new year. All right. So we'll just get started. I'm going to do like I did last time and kind of break down a little bit more of the actual tackle and technique. I'll skip some of the tackle, not quite as in depth because a lot of it's repeating from the last video, but I'll at least mention each thing. So number 86, this is from a year ago, pretty much around the same time. And it was one of those clips I had that I never used for anything, and it was me fishing with Mikey on Rainbow River, and I tied on the yo-zuri popper for the first time, and this exact one, this little, well, not this particular one, but this color and this model. Just found this in the sales bin at Walmart. Always look. yo-zuri stuff is always on sale. I don't know why, but it's $5 instead of $9 or something like that. Good deal. The yo-zuri 3D popper, 3-inch one. They make a smaller one too, but this is the same color that was in the video, and this was actually the day that I fell in love with this popper. I liked a few other, I still do like a few other poppers, but there's something about this yo-zuri popper that just casts so well, and it's just subtle enough and just walks well enough. I don't know, it just works for me and my setup. So check out the bite, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the popper, but also the next bite because it's also the same popper. But here you go, bite number 86. Just a little guy. Got one. Oh, another good one. Yeah? Yeah. Or not as good as the last one, but maybe a 3-pounder. He really wants in those weeds though. Well, he's almost as good as the last one, maybe a 4-pounder. Yeah, he's still chunky though. Yeah, so the thing is, I missed on tape. My GoPro battery died, and I switched it out in time to get this one. But I had caught about a 5.5-pounder just a few minutes before I caught the one in the last bite video. And it was one of the coolest bites ever because I threw it out there, and it's crystal clear water in Rainbow River, and the popper landed maybe about 10 feet away from this mat of alligator grass, what are the real term, pennywort, and the bass came shooting out from under the pennywort because it's so clear. That's what I love about topwater and clear water. They'll fight over it, and he just came out and just stopped right under it, and then I twitched it once, popped it once actually. He exploded on it, but I didn't have my GoPro on, but I turned it on in time to get that one, which is nice. 3, maybe 4-pounder I think actually. It was pretty big, and in that clear water it was so much fun right at sunset. And before I talk about the gear, we might as well jump into the next bite, which is bite number 87. It's also the yo-zuri popper, but in a slightly different color. Where did I put that? Right here. It's just a little more of a bluegill pattern, and this is the rod that I was using in both videos. well, the reel at least. I changed rods about a year ago. But this was my first decent bass of 2021. This was right after the new year. So yeah, it's pretty much around the same time it came out, like the first week of January. First week of January, I caught this 5-pounder on this lake where I'm at right now. Is actually Lake Alto. Not my favorite lake, or it didn't used to be my favorite lake. I used to actually really hate this lake, but as you can see from some of my bait videos, I've kind of started to figure it out, or I have figured it out, and I do like this lake. But my first 5-pounder of 2021 was caught here on Lake Alto on the yo-zuri popper, 3D popper. Check it out. Here you go. Bye. Finally, a bass of 2021. Good one, too. Yeah, that guy. So yeah, both of those bites were on 2 different colors of the same lure, the yo-zuri popper. And if you watch my bite videos, you're probably getting tired of me talk about this popper, but it's not the only popper I throw, but it's definitely the one I have on the most. I like all types of topwaters, but in the winter when they want something subtle, it's hard to get a topwater bite. This seems to work really well. And like I was saying, I can just sling this thing with this setup, and it's my SLX 8-2-1 regular SLX reel. 30-pound X9 braid to a 17-pound Berkeley trilene leader. On this, I guess vintage-ish Bass Pro Shop rod that somebody gave me. In the first video, I was still using my All-Star, which I really liked. Both are 6.6, but I started having a problem with the guides, and on the All-Star, it was more than 10 years old. And somebody gave me this, so I just switched to this one, also 6.6. It's a medium heavy, but like the medium heavy from 10 years ago, so it's a little more parabolic. I find I don't have a problem with these hooks, and these are, I had to replace the hooks on this with the Gamakatsu G Finesse. I really do like the hooks that come on the bait, but they're thin, so they do get bent out, and I do wear them out. So eventually I end up having to replace them. And this is me trying to do a little dressed feather or dressed treble hook with a part of a paintbrush and super glue and shrink wire heat shrink. I don't know, I'll do a video on that. Actually, Tactical Bassin did a video on it, but I'll do something on it at some point. But yeah, that first 5-pounder, it was a slow day. It was pretty much the only fish I caught that day, and it was cold. It was just shallow water, so I decided to go with the topwater. It was less than a foot of water, but the water hadn't cooled down, even though the air temperature had. So I knew they might still be hitting topwater, and sure enough, yo-zuri 3D popper. It won't be the last time I talk about it. All right, so January is also my birthday month. My birthday's January 8th, pretty much the first week of January, or just into the first week of January. And I had a little birthday getaway to my friend's lake house, where I normally have the roundabout, but I actually put the boat in. But the day before my birthday, I actually came here to Lake Alto again. Just had a few hours in the morning to fish, didn't have the whole day. And I hadn't got a bite, and it was a tough day. It's actually the same day that I caught the 5-pounder. which, yeah, it was right before my birthday, on the popper, the last bite. But before I caught that one, I did lose a really big fish, and he destroyed this megabass swimbait that my friend sent me, Justin sent me from California. Here it is. It is, what is it called? It's the Mega Bass Knife Back Shad, and it's in like a green pumpkin. And this is the actual bait, and you see the tail's all ripped. And I ended up modifying it. I'll show you after the bite what I did, because it's just a really firm plastic. I like it for that, but it's hard to get a hook up, and I was using the same hook I did or would use on a Big Easy. But I mean, this bass didn't even touch the lure, as you can see. He maybe grabbed the tail, that's why it's little. But watch this bass blow up on my bait. I miss it, but he flops around on the grass for a second. It was a worthwhile miss, so I threw it in here for the bite of the day. Check it out, bite number 88. So yeah, bite number 88 with that mega bass swim bait. You can see that in my gargantuan swim bait unboxing video. I threw that in there as part of the stuff that Justin sent me. He's my good friend in California who fishes. He grew up here in Florida, and we exchange baits every now and then. But yeah, so what I did, this is the one that he bit, and this is the one I fish now. As you can see, I got a little bit of a wider gap of a hook. I want to get a little lighter one. This is just the one I had. It's an owner beast. It's hard to get hooks right now. I don't know if you guys have tried, but it's the whole virus thing. But I took a razor and I cut a slot in the belly and a little slot in the top. So along with the bigger hook, this slot, it just pops out a lot easier. I actually will also spray, where is it? My scent. It's basically some Bang spray shad scent, and I'll spray that in this little cut, and it's fish oil basically, so it acts like a lubricant and that hook pops out a little easier. But I'm fishing this in really heavy cover, like way heavier than even what I lost that fish on. So I don't want that hook to pop out accidentally. But because of that, I have to throw this on this setup, which is my 6'6" Corrado medium heavy. This is technically their fluorocarbon flipping setup. I don't use fluorocarbon on anything, so it's kind of my go-to extra heavier-ish rod. I throw like some of the smaller swim baits on it, like up to 5-6 inches, like this one. Obviously I throw a jig on it. I'll throw my really big Florida rig Cincos on it, or really big worms on it. It's my Carolina rig rod, even though I don't do that often. This is the rod I would use, and just a really versatile rod. Probably one of the best investments I made was this Corrado 7.6 fluoro flipping rod. And I have it paired with a Sitica 200, where I upgraded the handle from my Corrado, so it's a little longer. Actually, not from my Corrado, it's from one of my SLXs. I took the longer handle and put it on here. Sitica's a few years old, they've discontinued it, so it had the older size handle, like a 95, I think. So I put 100 on there. Super versatile rod, but I run 50-pound braid, and with this type of bait, I run straight braid. Maybe a mono leader if the water's clear, but usually I wouldn't be throwing this, like fishing this like that in clear water. But you need that backbone to get that hook through that plastic. I mean, they're already gonna miss it a lot because you're ripping it through cover. It's kind of like frog fishing. They'll miss it, but you're moving it faster than the frog, so they almost miss it more. But it's so damn exciting. Hopefully, I'll get one on tape to show you guys what it's like to catch one, now that I got the right size hook. So okay, that was bite number 88, and the gear that I use for that. So yeah, that was the day before my birthday, and my actual birthday, January 8th, was a horrible day, and we spent the day just getting to the lake house and getting settled in. By the time we got set up at the lake house, it was already evening, so I didn't actually fish on my birthday. But yeah, so it was kind of cold, so at lunchtime I took Ashley back. She hung out in the cabin, read a book or something, and I went back out, and another guy who I know lives on the lake happened to be out there. I don't think he knew it was me because I don't usually have my boat out there, but he saw me get in my boat and he basically headed straight for the spot I was gonna fish. And I was like, wow, I'm gonna go fish the other spot I like, which is right by his house, but where he launches from. But you know, it was also out of the wind on that side, and I had tied on the Stealth Blade by Z-Man chatterbait. And I got into this area where there's usually schooling bass, the little bit bigger ones for this lake, like instead of half pounders, it's like 1 to 2 pounders. And I pretty much caught like 4 in like less than 10 minutes, almost back to back, not quite, but pretty close. And so it was just fun. I was just catching fish. Like I said, it was really cold. And then I turned around and threw towards the cover instead of towards the offshore coontail. And here you go. This is what I am calling my birthday bass, 8 pounds, 9 ounces on the Z-Man and Evergreen Stealth Blade chatterbait. Oh yeah. So yeah, hell of a way to bring in 47. First real bass of 2021 as well. 8 pounds, 9 ounces. It pulled, and man, that was a good test for the setup. Like I showed you last time, my chatterbait setup is the Shimano Calcutta rod. This is the medium heavy and 7 foot, right? Let me make sure I'm saying everything right. 7.2, and it was a little longer. And this is their $50 rod, but it's composite. And it's just, you can even see it. It's more moderate of a bend than the SLX in the same medium heavy. Is way stiffer because it's carbon or graphite. This is graphite fiberglass mix. And it is awesome for the chatterbait. This is the regular chatterbait with a hell shad tied on. Run SLX 7-to-1 reel, Should probably run slower, but I like the 7-to-1. It's pretty much the slowest reel I have. Running 20-pound braid, Berkley X9, to a, I'm trying that, still trying out that Berkley Fluoro Shield copolymer. I guess it's copolymer line. It's not fluorocarbon. It's not mono. It's somewhere in between. And I'm running 15-pound, 20-pound braid to 15-pound leader, blood knot. And I was running this, which I've already tagged. I put all the bait to catch anything over 8 pounds in my display case on the Stump of Fame. You can see that in some of my bait videos. But so here it is. It's the Z-Man Stealth Blade. I kind of want to fish it right now, actually, but I'm going to save it. And it has this trailer that I found. It's all beat up. You can see I lost most of the skirt. But this trailer is a company I'd never heard of. Here's the bag. I got one more left. It's Unfair Lures. And it's basically an Elastec, which I found out the hard way. Let it sit next to another piece of plastic and it dissolved it. But it's an Elastec fluke with a slightly ribbed section before the tail. So it swims really good on a chatterbait. I'm saving this one for my next stealth blade I'm ordering soon. I found this at Rural King on sale. I should probably go back and find another bag or two, because it really is a good trailer for this stealth blade. If you don't know, it's just a smaller plastic blade instead of metal blade, so it's just more of a subtle presentation of a chatterbait. So that's why I wanted something like a fluke style. And this caught that 8-pounder and all those other ones, and it's just like the Z-Man Elastec. It doesn't wear out. I just had to super glue it back on. I mean, these stealth blades have a great bait keeper, so at first I didn't even glue it, but after I caught a few fish I had to glue it on there. But yeah, I just turned around from where the schoolies were and literally turned around and threw towards the edge of the cover, and some pads and grass, into shallower water, and just kind of worked that chatterbait right under those pads, and it hit, and man, it hit like a freight train. You can see in that bite, when I set the hook, that rod just goes, and I knew I had a good fish. 8 pounds, 9 ounces. Good way to start my 47th year on this planet, and the new year as well. And it made up for the one I lost the day before my birthday. I think it was even bigger than the one I lost, so that's always good. All right, so the next bite is bite number 90. And this bite and the next couple bites, I think, yeah, the next two are all from the same birthday weekend. I fished all 3 days, or I fished 3 days on this lake that has absolute monsters. Atypical Outdoors knows which lake I'm talking about. But on the last day, my buddy Rob and his wife Jenny and his son Isaiah came out, and me, Rob, and Isaiah went out fishing, and we were doing all right. It was a little slower. It was a bluebird sky day to start, and it got cloudier as the day went on. It was cold still, and we basically do what I naturally do first, is we beat the bank, we threw stuff. I'll show you some of the other bites. We caught stuff in shallower water. Not shallow water, but shallower water. There's a lot of deep pads and grass there, so it looks like you're in 2 foot of water, but you're in 8 to 10 foot of water. Part of the reason why there's such good fishing there. But so I decided to go hit this hump out in the middle of the lake that just has that kind of green, stringy, almost algae-like grass on the bottom. It's only a few inches tall, but everywhere around this hump is about 10 to 14 feet deep, and then there's a hump with this grass on it that's maybe, it's not small, but I mean, it's a small lake, so the hump's maybe the size of my van, a little bigger than this boat, but it comes up to like 7.5 feet, and there's that little bit of grass on there. And I could see schoolies feeding out in the middle, so I was like, oh, let's go over there, and I first cast I threw a lipless and I caught a little dink. And so we kept drifting over it and having to go back and drifting over it because I don't have spot lock and it was kind of windy. And so then Rob grabs this, not this exact one, but the same color, the same bait. This is a yo-zuri crankbait, 3D crankbait that we both bought from Ollie's for like $3. That's why we both have it. I mean, and he actually just tied this on because he didn't have anything else to throw. I actually think his son had tied it on already, but Rob gets a double on one bait. Just gotta watch it. Here's bite number 90. My buddy Rob catching 2 bass on one crankbait. There you go. Yeah. Good one? That was good. Good. Give me that knife. Come towards me.
2.
There's 2. You got 2. You got 2. Come on, bring it in. Bring it in. Bring it in. Bring it in. Oh my God, dude.
Wow!
So yeah, I mean, 2 bass on one bait. I've done that once before and it was on a topwater, but I've never, I mean, it's rare. It doesn't happen that often. And those were both really nice bass. Yeah, awesome catch. And like I said, it was on this yo-zuri 3D crankbait. It dives to about 6 feet and it's a floating. It's got a little bit of a rattle. It's in the same color, the gold with the orange belly and black top or back. And the funny thing is he was throwing it on my rod and reel that I had given to his son to use as a frog rod, because when he started out, he didn't even know if he could throw a bait caster. He's done very well in a short period of time, but this was his first bait caster. So it's an older Berkeley lightning rod. It's actually what I used for a shiner rod, just because it's a 7 foot heavy. I want to get a longer, like a 7.6 or maybe even 8 foot shiner rod to really set the hook, but that's a whole nother video as well. On pretty much like the cheapest bait caster you can buy from Bass Pro Shop, it's, I don't even remember what it's called, it's the $39 bait caster you can buy in the package. It's actually a decent reel. I mean, it comes out of the same factory in Korea that, you know, the Lew's and all the other Bass Pro Shop reels come out of. So I used it for over a year, and I just had it laying around. So I put 50 pound braid. I put 65 pound braid on there, and you know, gave it to Rob's son Isaiah, who's like 11, to learn how to throw a bait caster. And for some reason, that's what he tied this crankbait onto, which, if you know anything about crankbaits, that shouldn't work. It's like, line's too heavy, rod's too heavy, all that stuff. But I guess it just goes to show you how good the hooks are on these yo-zuri baits. Like I said, I don't change them out until they need to be changed on most yo-zuri baits. Sometimes I'll put an EWG hook in the front. Just, I figure if they're gonna get it that good, might as well have that extra hook grip. That EWG grips a little better. But yeah, so there he is using a frog rod, throwing a crankbait over a hump in the middle of a lake, and he catches 2 bass. And as you can see and hear, he's never done that before. He was pretty excited. We're all pretty excited. It was a great day of fishing, because you can, as you'll see next, the next 2 bites are from that same day. So yeah, both bass I caught on swim baits are next. Bite number 91. I brought out my swim bait setups to give it a try. So before Rob and Isaiah got there that morning, I was just only throwing the swim baits, kind of mixed it up when they got there. You know, swim bait fishing is a dedicated thing. You gotta just throw the swim bait all day and not have another option, because you won't get bit as much as you will on even like a crankbait. But I had gotten this bait right here. It's in my gargantuan unboxing swim bait video number 2. It's the MC swim bait, 6-inch weedless swim bait in baby bass. I've been looking forward to getting this bait, and it didn't let me down. It's got a really nice subtle kick. It's not quite a full boot tail. But before I explain everything, check out the bite. Here it is, my first bass on an MC swim bait, 6-inch weedless swim bait. Works. Awesome. So yeah, I caught that fish deep in the pads, as you can see. He felt a lot bigger, but when he bit, but he was wrapped around in the pads where the line was. But still a 3-pounder. And that's the thing about these big swim bait, just still catch 2-3 pounders. It isn't until you get the really big baits that you kind of weed out those. But I was throwing that on this rod, but a different reel. If you watched my reel unboxing switch video, you saw that I got a new flipping reel and moved my Corrado over to swim bait rod with a Gomax handle. In the scheme of things, last week I was actually working on this project, which you guys will see in the world. I'll announce it when it comes out, but I'm a part of an ad campaign that's coming out for summer. But I had to scout locations, and it was probably the worst day I've ever been out on the water, or at least in years. And it was so rough that I cracked the front of my boat even. I got soaking wet twice, got out of the water, dried up. Long story short, I went to pick up my jerkbait rod. It was like 40 degrees, I was soaking wet, and I was using a Shimano Casitas, which they don't make anymore, as my jerkbait reel, because it really does cast like lures. Amazing. I just rebuilt it, all new bearings, maybe a month ago, and I gotta pick it up and the plate on the adjusting side falls off. Now Shimano doesn't have it so that the plates come off. They're like a gull wing thing, so they don't, and this is why, and it just hit the edge of the boat and fell in the water. So I had to do some rearranging of reels. The reel that I was using for a pitching reel is now my jerkbait reel, the SLX MGL 70. My Corrado is now my flipping reel again, and then I took back out of retirement when I'm temporarily my older Calcutta 100 and put that Gomax handle on it. But so in the video I'm using the Corrado reel, the same rod. This is the Corrado swim bait 8-foot rod. It's a extra heavy fast action 8-foot rod. This is their Corrado swim bait rod. I also love this rod. I have 3 Corrado rods now. They're all my heavier Shimano rods. The flipping rod, this rod, and that fluoro flipping rod that you saw earlier. But yeah, so everything else was the same. 65-pound braid to a 20-pound copolymer leader, still trying that new stuff. And we were in heavy pads, so it was a pretty short leader, but I just had a little bit on there. And yeah, bass eat bass. Oliver and I's right. Big bass dreams. A lot of people know this, but I've even caught a bass on this lake. You can go back and watch it in one of the Bite of the Days. A 6-pounder that should have only weighed 5 pounds, but he had a 1-pound bass, its tail sticking out of its throat. So I actually bought these baby bass baits to try on this exact lake, and it worked. I didn't get a huge one, but it was a tough day to get big bites. We didn't get anything over 4 pounds that day. And it's the same lake I caught the 8-pounder the day before, or 2 days before. But yeah, MC swimbait, weedless 6-inch swimbait. That's what they call it, weedless 6-inch swimbait in baby bass. I love it. They make a 9-inch one that I might have to look into getting at some point. I ordered their other swimbait. It's coming soon. I'll probably do an unboxing on that as well. It's another 6-inch soft plastic swimbait. But so then the next bite that I have here is also that day, and this is on the trash fish. And I switched up from the MC swimbait to the trash fish because I wasn't getting any more bites. This is bite number 92. I wasn't getting any more bites. Isaiah, Rob's son, had a little swimbait on, and it was like kind of a shad color but with a blue back, and he was getting a lot of action on it. So I decided to tie on this trash fish, this little creeper all-American trash fish. This is the normal thin one. I've only ever had the fat ones, so it was cool to try the thin one. So you can see one of the fins got ripped off. But so this is the exact bait right here, just on an Owner Beast 8/0 hook. Also throwing in heavy pads, very similar to the MC swimbait. Same setup on the same rod. But check it out. Here it is, bite number 92, the trash fish on my birthday weekend. Catching me another, what was it, 3-pounder, I guess. Check it out. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I got it. It's not that big. He's just better than. Whoa, that's pretty. Finally.
Lift him in.
Yeah, that's what you get when you're using straight 65-pound braid. But yeah, if you saw my unboxing or watched some of my videos, you already know that I like the trash fish. I have 4 different versions. I have the 4-inch, this one, the fat version, which is the same as this, just wider, and then I have the 8-inch one. I've still yet to get a fish in the boat on the 8-inch. I've gotten bit. But, you know, if you fish these swim baits, especially the big ones with the weedless hooks, you really got to set the hook to get that hook through them sometimes, and I just haven't. And they have to have it in their mouth, not half in their mouth. But hopefully one day I'll have that too. But yeah, this was that same day, a little later in the day, other side of the lake, throwing it on 65-pound braid, the Carrata setup, which I'm going to set back up that way, just working on it. Gonna order another reel because I don't think I can get parts for that casitas. If any of you guys have an old casitas reel that you have extra parts that you don't need, you know, hit me up. I would really like to rebuild that reel. But yeah, so bite number 92, trash fish, 6-inch weedless heavy cover. All right, so now we leave my birthday weekend, and this is actually a little, a couple weeks later. on Rodman Reservoir, and I had taken a subscriber out, this guy Chris Burnett. He'd hit me up. He lives in Jacksonville, so we'd met on Lake Santa Fe before, but not in the same boat. So this time we met, he got in my boat, and he could only fish till 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And we decided to go upstream and try to punch, and like I did the exact same day last year with Atypical Outdoors. It was January, whatever the date was, but it was in my memories that we were doing the same thing, but there was no punch bite to be had. I guess maybe the drawdown had it more concentrated last year, or they're just more spread out this year, or just the water temp is different. I'm not really sure. But one of the nice things about fishing there in the winter is there's a lot of springs, and the river's a little bit warmer than the rest of the lakes and streams and rivers around here. So it's one of the reasons I went there. I thought maybe we could catch something, and we struggled, and we didn't get anything. But he had to leave at like 3 or 4 o'clock, I don't even remember. But I decided to might as well fish through sunset, and literally we had said maybe 20 times that day that we should tie on a jerkbait or a chatterbait and fish that more. And so but we didn't. But after he left, I went out and I tied on a chatterbait. That's not what you're gonna see. This is a jerkbait bite. Because I didn't have my camera on, because I hadn't caught anything. But I caught one on my 3rd cast of the chatterbait, but then nothing. But still, I caught one. I was pretty excited. And I remember that last year around this time, the jerkbait was kind of magic. So here was the best one I caught that day. It was right at the end of the day on a Lucky Craft jerkbait. Check it out. Bite number 93. When I dropped Chris off, he's like, I bet you're gonna catch like 12 fish after I leave. I didn't catch 12, but I caught 5 or 6 in like 2 hours when we had fished, 8 hours with like 1 bite. And so, and yeah, that jerkbait bite held on for a little while. It was pretty awesome. And here is my jerkbait setup, and like I was saying, I lost the part to my casitas reel, so the reel I bought as a flipping reel is now my temporary jerkbait reel. I'm gonna get, I think, the SLX XT to replace this, but I'll let you know, unless, like I said, somebody has parts for me. But this is on that 13 Fishing green Fate rod we talked about in the last wrap-up. Was it 6? It's 6'7". I knew it was an odd number size. Medium, fast, and it's awesome for jerkbaits. It's an inshore fishing rod, but it works great freshwater. It's got a little bit shorter handle, nice for all that twitching. I lost the actual jerkbait in that video, but I have the same size Lucky Craft jerkbait, same bait, just different color. And it is, what is it called? The Slender Pointer 112. This is like a kind of a bluegill pattern. And yes, I keep hook covers on all my hooks in my Tacklebox. And then I'll talk about that all one day when I do a tackle organizing video, which has been requested. I'm gonna work on it. It's coming soon. But yeah, it was just like this. I added This is a this is a suspending one, but I wanted it to slow sink because we were fishing in current. I just wanted a little bit for it to stay in place a little bit better. So I got a little bit of suspend strips, which I actually put a little super glue on too, so they don't fall off. Little trick. All the hooks have been replaced with the Gamakatsu G Finesse with a double ring in the back, and I run a clip because I switch the depth jerkbaits I use a lot because there's shallow water and then deep water. Shallow water, deep water. I only have one jerkbait rod. So with the clip and the extra ring, it balances out. I have a little tank I test this all in. I'll probably do a video on that too. But yeah, so that's what I was using, and I caught 4 or 5 fish in an hour, and that was the nicest one. I caught a couple others right around 3 pounds. They're all just setting up in the pre-spawn. It was all about finding deep water next to a flat. So the channel for Rodman, the old river channel, is right there, and this is a flat that goes up into some lily pads. But they weren't in the lily pads, they were in the kind of sparse cover in front of lily pads in about 4 or 5 feet of water. And it was a jerk, jerk, pause, jerk, pause, jerk, jerk. We got a boat coming over here. But yeah, that's what I did. Different color, it was like a chrome metallic. I wish I could find another one, but this was also an Ollie's find. Hopefully they'll be getting some more stuff. They usually load up in the spring. If you didn't know, Ollie's sells Lucky Craft, but every time they get them, I try to buy as much as I can. And that was the last one I had of that color. And these are a little bigger. These are the 112s, like I said, but they seem to like it. I tried throwing a smaller one in ghost minnow, and I think I got 1 bite, but as soon as I put that shinier one on, which was actually the same color and bait that I discovered last year around the same time, worked really well on Rodman. So there you go, patterns. But yeah, jerkbait bite, it was on fire for a couple weeks there. Me and Mikey went out too. There'll probably be a video on that one as well coming up. Lucky Craft jerkbaits, hard to beat when they're on sale for half price. And then, speaking of fishing with Mikey, the bite number 94 was a similar situation, same place, Rodman, but him and I actually went upstream the Ocklawaha, which is south, because the Ocklawaha runs north, just like the St. John's, which it's a tributary of one of the only rivers that flows north. And we fished all day. We did really well. We caught more than 25, maybe 30 bass, but he had to leave early, and on the way home I have to pass Orange Springs, which is on Rodman, and where I had caught this jerkbait bass from the last bite. So I figured I already had the boat on the trailer, drove there, and I still had a few hours of light, so I relaunched and went out, and it'd been windy all day, and then it just got dead calm, and it was the first like warm day. It was like 2 days in a row. It was the second day of warming, and I decided, you know, I'm gonna put the jerkbait down, and I'm gonna grab, oh, I don't have it out, let me get it. I'm gonna grab a topwater. But while I get it out, go ahead and watch it. This is bite number 94, back-to-back, small guys, some dinks on the big Sammy by Lucky Craft. But yeah, so it was a jerkbait bite. Mikey caught a really big one like at dawn on a Lucky Craft gunfish topwater, but then the topwater bite died right until this time, and this was a similar situation of a flat near deep water pre-spawn. It got dead calm, sunset, magic hour, so I just picked up a topwater, and for some reason I decided it was time to throw this guy. It is the Sammy, I don't even know which one it is. It's the big Sammy. It says it in the bite video. Another Ollie's find. And this was exact bait, this kind of ghost with a green back. If you don't know about the Sammy, it's an awesome walking bait. It's got a low kind of clunk to it. As you can see, I couldn't get a topwater bite all day, but once it flattened out and the sun started going down, this thing kicked some butt. Yeah. Oh yeah, here's... I don't always run 3700 size boxes, but I do on my topwater and frogs and punching baits. But hook keepers, you can just grab them out, see? It's awesome. Like I said, another video. So yeah, that Sammy is kind of the upper end I'll throw on my topwater rod. Same one, the 30-pound braid to mono leader 6.6. If I get any bigger than that, I'll go to my kind of do-it-all medium heavy 7.2 SLX, which I actually almost ran for that bait that day, but I had something else on here I forgot, but I wanted to try. Probably a swim jig. Like today, the swim jig's been killing it. But yeah, they were only 2 dinks, but you know, at the end of the day, I mean, like I said, we probably caught over 30 bass to end it with a couple topwater bass on a big walking bait. It was just awesome, so I threw it in there. And plus, it's beautiful scenery. And like I said, it was further upstream, but the riverbed kind of comes around, and it kind of goes around. It's almost like an island, because the barge canal's on one side, the river channel's on this side, and they're just kind of flat with pads and a bunch of logs on it, and it's about 3 to 5 foot deep. And yeah, they always kind of buy some pads, but kind of in the open. But yeah, the Lucky Craft Sammy from Ollie's half price, you know, does the job. I love that bait. I love that Ollie's has Lucky Craft stuff. Actually, I'm not the only one who spilled the beans on that. I know Realistic Fishing, and I think even Alex Rudd. A couple other people have mentioned Ollie's is a discount, I guess, what is it? It's a discount outlet, like closeout. So their slogan is like, Ollie's, get good stuff cheap, but get it while it's there, because once it's gone kind of thing. So you can never predict what baits they're going to have. But anytime they have a shipment of, they get Rapala stuff, they get all sorts of, they had a whole bunch of yo-zuri stuff, they had a whole bunch of Lucky Craft stuff, Rick Clunn, Lucky Strike stuff, Zoom, just random stuff. So luckily it's right next to Harbor Freight, which I go to all the time for my studio practice. So I just pop my head in there. It's a good tip. Check out an Ollie's if you got one near you. But yeah, that's the bite of the day wrap up for January, first month of 2021. A bunch of my birthday catches in there. Already got some good ones here in February if you've been watching. Just got a 7-pounder on my first rat bass. That was awesome. But yeah, so keep watching the bite of the day. In March sometime I'll have the wrap up for February. Oh, I think that was a bass right there. That's awesome. I'm gonna try to catch it. So thanks guys for watching. I'm Ted from Ted Lincoln's Fishing Life. I'm out, and I'm gonna catch that bass.
see the puppy.